good evening. So, same thing I always do. Gonna look at some of these bad financial stories and stuff that I see on Reddit. One of the stories is actually a good, happy story. I found one that has a little bit of a happier ending this time because I wanted something that had a happier ending. So, yeah. But don't worry, every other story's terrible. So, we'll still get plenty of disasters on this one. So, normally I pretty much just stick to the r/debt forum, but I did find this one on the subreddit True Off My Chest. And yeah, we'll start with that. This one's a little bit different than some of the subreddit type things that I normally go through. So yeah, let's take a look at it. Okay, so this was posted by Can't Be Trusted with Money. Can't Be Trust with Money. English no comprehendo. He says, I've lost $110,000 in the stock market in under 3 years. I'm only 25. Me too. I'm a decently high earning software engineer in the Bay Area. Pretty much all of the post-tax money I've made for the past 3 years is gone. Whew. Thankfully, I maxed out my 401k and retirement savings everywhere, so I won't be screwed later in life. But I don't know how I'm supposed to get married, have kids, and buy a home with less than $30,000 in accessible funds. I feel constantly stressed and ashamed because I don't want to have to share this with anyone else. I know I am so foolish for trying to make free money without doing proper research or due diligence. I think if I zoom out a bit, I will probably be okay in the long run, but I definitely feel like an absolute loser right now. Yeah, it's not good, man. I mean, losing $110,000 in a stock market in 3 years is rough. I wonder what this dude was invested in. I wonder if he was doing like the kind of the stereotypical investor bro thing, like crypto or really high promised rate of return, like tech companies and that kind of thing, or investing in startups or God forbid, NFTs or something like that. Hopefully that's not the case, but also it probably was. I mean, it had to be something volatile because in order to lose that much money in the stock market, it's not like he was just investing in index funds or the general stock market. So, I don't know. We'll see. Let me see what he put in his edit. Adding this because I was repeating it in a few comments. I'll clarify that I recognize my privilege, and I spoke freely about being somewhat high earning to the point that just because I make money, it doesn't make me smarter than people who aren't where I am. Obviously not. You've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on the stock market. It's almost worse because it gave me a false sense of confidence. I'm fortunate to have a safety net, both financially and personally, surrounding me, hence why I know I will be okay in the long run. The main thing that saddens me is that I may no longer be able to do all the things that I wanted before 30, namely raising a family in a high cost of living area. Yeah, I mean, maybe not. That being said, I am open to hearing everyone's criticism, even the harsh words. I love talking to people and hearing their stories, so please keep commenting. I like reading them all. I'm reading them all. Edit number 2, I'm learning a lot about angry Redditors. It's quite disheartening to see that just because I come from a place of privilege, any hardship I endure is somehow less important than someone else's not as fortunate as me. It's a good point. Regardless, I'm not going to apologize for making this post or say that I don't have any real struggles. Anyone who believes that is free to hold their own opinion. I just disagree with it. Also, please explain why you feel like I'm complaining. I want to know if what I'm saying doesn't match my intention, so please quote me or call me out. I will not take offense. Alright. 2 more edits real quick. Edit number 3. I love reading people's personal stories. I know there's no obligation for commenters to share their lives here, but if you have a throwaway or you can avoid giving personal details, please do comment. I think it's a mutually beneficial act. Edit number 4. Okay, I think I've gotten what I wanted out of this post. Thanks for the kind words from most people. I also appreciate the harsh words from others. Like I said, I'm not offended and I appreciate your perspective. The only shame is the few spiteful or jealous people who decided to project their insecurities onto others. I really do hope you find some acceptance and empathy in your life. I'm not going to respond to any more comments, but maybe I'll come here and read any updates, occasionally on my main account. Yeah, man, I mean, I'm glad this dude makes a good income. This situation would be a freaking problem for me, or for 98% of the world. So, having a really good income and being able to boost that $110,000 that you lost pretty quickly, it's a really good thing. I mean, I don't think people should be hating on this guy or whatever for having a high income. Having a high income is good. I want to have a high income in the near future. That's like my number one goal right now. So, if that means people are going to hate me because I eventually get a high income, okay, it is what it is, dude. Nobody's ever happy for you. Anyway, I digress. So, yeah, I mean, this isn't that complex of a situation. I really don't have a problem with anything that this guy's doing, so long as he obviously learns that he can't be investing in stocks to the same degree that he was beforehand. There's nothing wrong with putting a ton of your money or a ton of your paycheck into stocks or into the stock market or into a 401k, etc. But buying individual stocks and just gambling in the stock market, as you see, is a really good way to lose money. Most of us are not smarter than the stock market. I sure as hell am not. Unless you are a very brilliant, very lucky, very hardworking person, you should not play this game. You're just going to lose money, and you're going to be 25 years old making a Reddit post about how you can't find a spouse and you can't live in a high cost of living area because you don't have enough money. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit. I mean, he's not screwed. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's a big nest egg to lose. I guess my question would be, if he was making so much money and he really wanted to have a house one day, why wouldn't he have just saved a little bit of that money for, 6 months to a year of a salary or whatever, and just put it toward a house down payment, instead of putting it into the stock market? One, that would have been way less volatile. I mean, you buy a house, whether it's in the Bay Area or Cleveland or wherever, it's either going to stay about the same or it's going to go up a little bit and appreciate. So it's not like he was going to buy a house and then lose $100,000 in home value right away. Unless he buys a couple $1 million house and the housing market crashes all of a sudden, you're not going to lose 110 grand from owning a house. So yeah, like I said, I mean, I really don't understand the mindset. I mean, much less just investing that much money into something that you don't know about. That's probably a bad idea on itself. But the part that gets me is he's very clearly interested in owning a house and having a family. Why didn't he start with that? You could get your house and then invest in the stock market. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. He's probably getting all obsessed with like crypto and, really high returns and like the Tesla stock type thing. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. That's my own curiosity. The good news is, with an income like that, you're still going to be able to buy a house. You'll still be able to invest, probably max out your 401k. Maybe you're going to meet a wife, in the near future. She could probably do those same things too. She ends up having a good paying job, like if you meet her at your software developing office or whatever. So, yeah, I don't think you're screwed at all. I think this is just a $110,000 learning experience that I am almost certain you won't repeat. So, yeah. Okay, let me read some of these comments here. All right. Okay, Arachnid890 says, well, if you keep that money in there, hopefully it goes back up after a few years. Yeah. They probably messed with leverage and options, so it won't go back up. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you had some bad trades and stuff, you're not going to get that money back. The stock market would have to go up a huge percentage, like exponential increase in the stuff that he was already invested in for that to make any kind of sense at all. He's not going to make his money back. The dude needs to cut his losses, sell whatever he has now, and then start from scratch, start over, buy a house, max out the 401k, that kind of thing. OP says, yes, it was indeed options. Had to sell $100,000 worth of my shares to cover the bad trade. Running with Tuga calls this behavior gambling, which, yes, that is gambling. I mean, anytime you're just investing a ton of your money into single stocks with no proof of what you're doing, that's gambling. That is the same thing as going down to Vegas and playing the freaking slot machines. Except you're playing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of slot machines, and now you're out giant money. So, sorry, bro. Alright, Kid Piper says, isn't that basically what the stock market is? At least to idiots. Options is gambling, buying and holding ETFs is not, and is the sensible way to do things. Yes. They should really look into a financial advisor. Also, $30,000 in expendable finances is a large amount to most people, so marriage shouldn't be off the table for this. Plus, if he marries someone with some brains, she can help him grow financially as well. Please don't forget the poor with all this wealth. A few bucks can change a life, just saying. Guy below him says, the Bay Area is so outrageously expensive. The guy almost certainly can't buy a house without the imaginary fast money that he's dreaming of. In San Francisco, you can earn a six-figure salary with no dependents and still legally be in the low-income category, qualifying for low-income housing. That's crazy if that's true. I don't know much about high-cost living areas like San Francisco or LA or whatever. I mean, I live in Morgantown, West Virginia. I have a pretty nice apartment here for like $900 a month, so rent's pretty cheap. Houses are pretty cheap. You can buy a killer 2,000 square foot condo in a beautiful HOA for like $280,000 to $310,000. So just to put things into perspective, I would have to be making a crazy income to justify living in some part of California or, Washington or New York or any of those really expensive places. I'd have to be making like $500,000 a year for me to even consider that. There's just no freaking way. I have no desire to move to one of those shitholes. Anyway, let me just read one more comment on this thing. Thomas Cameron says, the stock market is a racket. Those stock market guys are crooked. Al Capone. You're very young. You have plenty of time to bounce back with sane investments. I wish someone had told me at your age what I will tell you now. Max your retirement out. Sounds like you have, so good. Matching is free. Take advantage of that shit. Don't ever dip into your retirement. Be aggressive. Take the high growth plans you have when you're young. Get more conservative when you get older. I was also a very high earner when I was your age, but I made terrible choices and didn't invest well. Then I took some money out to start a business, which was moderately successful, but not amazing. Fast forward to 2020, I was diagnosed with incurable cancer at 52. I felt like I had plenty of time left to top off retirement, but my cancer had a median survival of 58 months. So I've been socking everything I can in retirement for my wife. Learn from my failure. Be aggressive as hell with retirement. You never know what life's gonna throw at you. It's crazy, man. Alright, let me move on to story number 2 here. So now we're back on the r/debt forum. I don't normally read the True Off My Chest subreddit, but I thought that was a pretty interesting one. Kinda relates to the stuff that I normally read about on this channel, so I just thought that was interesting. Maybe a little bit new perspective. Anyway, story number 2 here. Drowning in $30,000 worth of debt. I'm married, 26-year-old female, and my husband is 30. Together we bring in about $90,000 $90,000 a year. Together we have about $28,000 in credit card plus personal loan debt. I feel like I can't breathe and I'm never getting out. We have a house and we lease a car, which I'm not concerned about paying those off. They're necessities for us. But I have 3 credit cards, one with about $8,000, one with $4,000, and one with $900. I also have a personal loan for $15,000. When I think of how I got here, I don't know how I got so bad. Is it possible to get out? Monthly income, we bring in about $5,500 after taxes. My loan payment is $400. My one credit card is $200, and my other is $80. I feel like I'm drowning and my husband's entire paycheck is just going to debt. He has no credit, so everything is in my name. That's a problem, gotta fix that. I feel so trapped in this debt. Is there any hope? Has anyone gone through this and gotten out? Where do I even start? It's like every payment that I make doesn't even make a dent. What's the best place to start? Thanks for coming to my vent. Okay, remind me to go back and read this update in a second. So, first of all, the good news is, and although it's not gonna feel like it, the good news is your debt's not that high. $90,000 income with $30,000 in debt. That's only a third of your yearly income. I mean, there's people out there that are making 50 grand that are $500,000 in debt. So, ratio-wise, this isn't that bad. I mean, it's not great, don't get me wrong. You're still gonna have to grind to pay this off, but this can definitely be done. Now, sort of sticking with the formula that I usually do, the first thing that I always look at is, I don't know if you have 1 or 2 cars, you might have mentioned that. You say we have a house and a lease car, which I'm not concerned about paying off. They are necessities to us. Okay, now, I don't know if you have 1 car or if you have 2 cars. That's not really my point. I mean, a lot of people need 2 cars, so whatever you need to have, great. I don't really care about that. If you're leasing or paying for a car that is significantly more expensive than what you should be or what you could get away with, stop doing that. For real, I have no idea what kind of car this person drives. But if this is really anything over like a $10,000 Corolla, you could put a fair bit of that towards your debt, right? Just sell the car, get rid of that thing, get a cheap beater car like a Toyota Camry or a Corolla or something that's going to last a while. Something that all you have to do is maintenance and tires, and then, your payment's going to be so tiny because it's like an $8,000 car. Point is, unless you're already driving a pretty cheap car like that, people lose a ton of money to driving cars that they shouldn't be driving. So if that's you, and I don't know if it is or not, but if that's you, sell your car or turn your lease in and then get a cheap little beater car that's going to be somewhat reliable, like a Toyota. Okay, end of my rant there about cars. So you have 3 credit cards, right? You have one with $8,000, one with $4,000, and one with $900. Now, unless the interest rate is way higher on one of these cards than the other one, like for example, let's say the $8,000 interest rate was like 30% and the interest rates on the other 2 were like 12%. In that case, I'd probably start paying off the $8,000 one first just because of the interest rate. But if all of the interest rates are the same or very similar, I would pay off the $900 thing first. Look, at your monthly take-home pay, if you're just kind of smart with your money for 1 month, there's no reason why on your next paycheck you couldn't just pay that off, right? It's $900. You make $5,500 after taxes every month. So, pretty good. Just pay off the $900. Seriously. Next time you get a paycheck, just immediately throw $900 at that little credit card, and then that card's down. And now you're just down to 2 credit cards. You've got some momentum built up from actually paying that card off, and you don't have to worry about that anymore. Now you don't have to tell people that you owe debt to 3 credit card companies. Now it's just 2. So, that's what I would do. Now, the other thing that you mentioned in this post was that your husband doesn't have credit. He's 30 years old. Your husband is 30 years old. You gotta get this dude to get credit cards. He needs to open up either a secure credit card and make hardly any payments. I mean, I'm talking spend $10 a month on the card and then do nothing else with it. I know it's scary giving somebody who's a little bit financially irresponsible credit card debt. And let's be honest, I don't know if this credit card debt is your debt or your husband's. If it's a mixture of both of you, if you're the bad guy, if your husband's the bad guy, I don't know. So, I digress. I don't think that is overly relevant in this particular case, aside from the fact that whoever is the problem needs to learn that they're the problem so that you can stop hemorrhaging money like this. But needless to say, you really shouldn't be 30 years old without having credit. Look, I know this post is from the wife's perspective, but if they get divorced, the husband can't rely on the wife for credit anymore. He's gonna be kinda shit out of luck, which, man, I just can't imagine living like that. I mean, I got my first credit card when I was like 19 or something, and I just didn't put any money on it. I mean, I would spend 10 to maybe $150 on it per month. I had like a $2,000 credit line, and that's all I would spend. So, you're talking 1 to 5% utilization rate. By the time I turned 22 or something, I had like a 780 or a 785 credit. It's really easy as long as you don't use it. So, I continued to use my debit card the way I always had, but I just started using my credit card a little bit on a monthly basis so that I could actually build credit. And here we are, 6 years later, I'm 25 also, and I got very good credit. So does my wife. She did the exact same thing. She also has like a 780 something or whatever. So we're great. That's a little bit of a tangent off to the side. Let me read through some of these comments, and then I will come back to the update that he did. So, Gwanva Bruce, or however you say that, says, have to start first with a budget. Absolutely. You say loan and debt payments above are $680. So what about mortgage, lease payment, insurance, food, gas, utilities, internet, etc.? The first step is figuring out where your money is going. That's an excellent point. Yeah, like this guy said, if you can't track exactly where your money is going, it's going to be really pretty difficult to make an adjustment. And like I was saying earlier, with a $5,500 take-home pay, you really probably don't need to be spending, I would say, more than about $4,000 a month, at least for the short term being, unless you bought a way too expensive house, in which case that's a whole other problem. We won't go down that route. Realistically, with this income, you should have $1,000 to $1,500 left over relatively easily. I mean, heck, that alone, you could pay off your debt in like a year and a half, but I think you could do better than that. Still, you could probably take care of this debt in about a year and a half, and that's not including if you guys pick up extra jobs or you work some extra overtime or that kind of thing, just to get literally more money into your paycheck every month. That's what I'd be focusing on hardcore. Okay, OP says, our mortgage, we put about $2,800 a month away. That includes utilities and internet. Our insurance is about $180 a month. We do have small medical payments we pay monthly, but that's only like $20. We also pay a babysitter $175 a week for my son to go to daycare there. I feel like we spend so much in gas and groceries that it just dwindles away into nothing. That's just not how money works, man. If you make an exact budget, nothing dwindles away. You know exactly where your money's going. So, like the guy said above, Wava Bruce or whatever, you just have to make a budget. There's just no way around it. I just can't imagine living life in a way that you just have no freaking idea what you're spending money on. I don't know why an adult would choose to live like that. And I really mean that. Even an 18-year-old. If you're 18 years old, you should be making a budget. Even probably more so than a 30-year-old. If you're 18, now's the time. So, it says, have you tried knowing rather than feeling? Budget and expense tracking. Excellent point. Imagine running your life without a budget. Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I think that's a terrible idea. $2,800 a month for mortgage is insane on $5,500. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That's literally 50% of your take-home pay is going toward a house. I mean, how much is your internet? On your income with this debt, every single dollar matters. You need to do a real budget that tracks how every single take-home dollar you make is being spent. Don't lump mortgage and internet together. They are two separate expenses. Sure. For groceries and all the other expenses you need, you know exactly how much you are spending on each every month. And build a real budget from there where you say, our grocery budget from February is $500, our internet is $100, etc. So, yeah, I mean, notice how everybody's jumping on the budget thing. It's going to be pretty hard to tackle debt if you don't have any money. And how are you going to have money if you're blowing all your money without actually making a plan for it? You can't plan without a budget, so it all comes back to budgeting, my friend. It all comes back to budgeting. All right, let me read one more comment, and then I will read OP's update. So, for my friend Guava Bruce again, you are guessing here. You need to track every penny, then you can start throwing the extra money at the debt. Two main ways to do that. You can throw it at the one with the highest percent, which makes the most sense math-wise, or you can throw it at the one with the highest, or you can throw it at the one with the lowest balance. Yeah, honestly, for this guy, either of those two plans would be perfectly fine. The $900 thing, like I said, you could pay that off in one paycheck. That's really not that big of a deal. Knock that shit out, move on with your life. Taking the numbers in your edit, you are still at $4,380 expenses, so you spend $1,200 a month on gas and food. Honestly, the housing is not very sustainable. It is over half of your take-home pay as a household. If you are paying more than the minimum payment on your mortgage, you should only be paying the minimum when you have debt like this. It is not likely that the interest rate on your mortgage is higher than that on your other debt. Absolutely not. Mortgage rates are going to be somewhere between 3 and 10%, most likely 6 or 7% right now. Credit card debt's going to be talking 15, 20, 25, 30, maybe even 35% interest rate if you're a high-risk candidate. Of course, a mortgage is going to have lower interest. As this guy said, if you're paying the mortgage any quicker than what you should be, stop. Stop doing that. You are hurting yourself in the long run, and you're hurting yourself in the short run, too. Quit doing that. So I don't actually know if he's doing that or not. My assumption is they probably just bought a house that's too expensive for him. They probably also didn't put much money down, because most people don't put 20% down on a house anymore. And, they're probably paying PMI and that kind of thing. So, I can understand it. They probably bought a $300, maybe $400,000 house, but they didn't put a lot down, so now they got this big mortgage payment, bigger than what it should be. So, he says, but you are right. I need to sit down and write every single piece of debt out to the penny and figure out what exactly I'm paying and what is going on where. It's important to know that I feel like I do this mostly because it's never exactly. I feel like I do this monthly, but it is never exact. I'm more like rough estimated, and that's probably throwing me off. Do you think? I would say yes, that's probably throwing you off. What's wrong with these people, bruh? Okay, let me read the update. Alright, update. I received a lot of great advice from people, and thank you everyone for that. To everyone that was rude or suggested I sell my home, thanks but no thanks. I worked hard for my home, and I'll work hard to pay off my debt. I will most likely not be replying anymore as there are a ton of comments, but everyone that has a positive word of advice, thank you. I was given tons of information and hope, and I plan on starting my research and setting my goals tonight. Thank you again, everyone. Okay, I mean, that was not exactly the update I was expecting. He basically just said, I'm gonna do what I can, yeehaw, or she. Okay, whatever. I mean, I hope it works out for you, my friend, I really do. You and your husband need to get the whole credit thing taken care of. He needs to get a credit card. You both need to make a budget. You both need to be working extra hours. You both need to spend less money. And you need to pay the damn debt off. Alright, story number 3 here. We're going to read 4 today. Here's number 3. Wife opened credit card in my name without consent. As the title says, I just discovered that my wife opened a credit card account in my name without my consent. She has almost maxed out the $11,000 credit line. She's been making payments on time, fortunately, but barely more than the minimum. Am I screwed or can I contest this? Dang, dude. Starman Dan, you are in rough shape. See, this is one of those situations where it's like, are you really married? Like, is this really the whole story? See, to me, for one, if my wife took out $11,000 credit line in my name without telling me, maxed it out, and then didn't really pay off any of the debt, one, I probably wouldn't be coming to Reddit. I would be in a divorce attorney's office at the moment. Now, that being said, I feel like there's got to be more to the story, right? I mean, you got like 3 sentences in here. Am I screwed or can I contest this? I would say if you're going to stay with a person that values you and your financial situation that little, you probably are screwed. Can you contest this? Well, I'm not a legal attorney. I don't know anything about the legal law. So, I don't know, man. Look, my gut instinct tells me you probably could contest it. If you could prove that she took it out in your name without your consent, that's probably credit fraud. Or, I mean, I'm sure there's some real technical term for that, but I'm just going to call that credit fraud. I mean, is that not kind of stealing your identity? If you actually didn't know about it, and this really is all there is to the story, and your wife just applied through credit through your name without asking your permission at all, yeah, of course you can contest that. That is literally not legal. I mean, she is committing some variation of credit card fraud and identity theft. So, yeah, I would contest that. Look, if a lot of this is going to come down to, do you think the marriage is probably going to end? I would say, if you think the marriage is probably going to end, and you're willing to do something like, report her or file a police report or meet with an attorney, like those kind of potentially punitive actions, if you're willing to do that against your wife, which I probably would if my wife did this, I think you could probably successfully contest this. Although, just understand that if you're going to go that approach, your marriage is for sure going to be over. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind. So now you have to weigh the odds of, well, how much money am I going to lose if I get divorced? How unhappy am I going to be if I get divorced? Does my wife maybe have, like, bipolar tendencies? Or does she have some sort of mental health problems that might make her likely to do this, but she didn't mean it in a malicious manner? If that was the case, if my wife had some sort of mental thing where, maybe she struggled with impulse control or that kind of thing, I wouldn't want to press charges or anything. I would just really want her to get help. Now, I obviously have no idea. You didn't give us a whole ton of information, so I kind of just am left to guess here. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if your wife just has absolutely no respect for you at all and just wanted to buy $11,000 worth of stuff, so she thought, oh, I'll just open it in my husband's name, with no concern of what that would do to hers, yours, credit score, and relationship and finances. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I just cannot fathom being married to somebody that would act like this. Barring some sort of bad mental health disorder or problem or impulse control like we talked about earlier, this just seems completely and entirely unacceptable to me. I would absolutely not put up with this from anybody, spouse, friend, family member. Hell no. I think you're going to have to go to battle, man. I really do. And so long as you can prove that this happened the way that you're telling it, I think you will win that battle. So, best of luck, man. I'm sorry that this is the way that it is. That sounds shitty. Let me read some of these comments here. Heavy Ad 345 says, are you willing to go to the police and file a police report? Yeah, I mean, if he is, probably going to be able to successfully contest that stuff. If not, man, I mean, I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to move on. Like, if, in my opinion, if you're not going to handle this properly, you might as well just pretend it never happened, because she's probably going to do it again. Alright, Doodle Poodle here says, This is the big question and the only way out. If this is a complete deal breaker, then you can file a police report and then eventually the account will be removed from your record and you may not owe it. Being married makes it more complicated, but you should consider filing for immediate separation if you are done, because that will separate you financially from her. Then you can file a case against her and see if you still owe anything. Yeah, I think that's a great option. This problem might not be merely about debt or the dishonesty. She may be having an emotional crisis of some kind, and maybe he wants to help her, in addition to protecting himself financially. This guy says, it's your wife. Are you going to get a divorce? She can transfer the debt to another card if possible, for her to get a card without a cosigner. Then, you can take over the card or cancel it. You don't want to cancel cards. You don't get credit each back. You should just change the password and the card number, remove her name, then don't use the card. I don't know, man. I don't think that is a severe enough solution. But, yeah, okay, I mean, I understand the logistics behind it. Let's see here. Let me read another couple. Mine did something similar with taking loans in my name a couple years ago. Oh my gosh, who are you people marrying? If you go down the fraud route, be prepared to name and shame and have her potentially facing serious criminal charges. I wasn't willing to do that. I was forgiving the first time. Last year, she took more loans without me knowing, this time in her name at least. Divorce is on the horizon once I figured out with a lawyer how to get me out from under the debt. Yeah. This guy says that's messed up. Forgive her unless she's cheating. Hell no! No, my wife's stealing money from me. One, you think she's gonna admit to cheating? She might be cheating and not telling you. Come on, breadfruit, you know better than that. Alright, last comment. You can contest it, but there's this little thing called fraud. It's a little thing where the credit card company investigates who took the card out. If they find out it's your wife, they'll go after her, and in most areas, that's a felony. Are you screwed? Probably not. Is she screwed? Yes. Will your marriage survive? Probably not. Depends on you two. Your wife is a thief and a liar. She committed financial infidelity and fraud. Freeze your card immediately so she can't screw you over even further. Forgive the harshness of this comment, but I don't tolerate financial infidelity. Yeah, fair point, brother. Yeah, not really much else to talk about on this particular one. As all of these people have said, that sounds like a nightmare. Seems like your first step is to basically decide if you're going to get a divorce, and if you are going to get a divorce, whether or not you're going to pursue some sort of legal or financial action. Obviously, we can't really give you advice on that. That's just up for this person to decide. But yeah, man, if this was me in that situation, things would not be looking good for my wife. Alright, this is a little different story here. Wanted something a little happier to kind of offset the chaos that we read about. So this one was posted 9 days ago. It's titled, "It's not much, but I finally paid off my first credit card with the debt snowball. Never been happier. After a super tumultuous couple of years involving addiction, a breakup, and dealing with the loss of my housing and my job, I finally had enough to pay off my credit card fully. It was only $415, but to me, it was so much more. Anytime I'd come close to it, I'd spend it on something else that I'd have to survive. Just to have the ability to pay it off now is so relaxing after years of stressing over even the minimums. Next up is a $580 card and then an $800 card that I should be able to knock out in 2 months. So proud of myself." It's awesome, dude. I'm proud of you too. That's good. I mean, it seems like this person is just kind of the low and slow and steady debt, like $50 in debt here, $70 in debt here. Like this kind of just strikes me as somebody who has had to use credit a couple times to survive, and because of that, interest payments have slowly brought up that $70 to $100 to $200. So this just seems like kind of this person's trying to survive, and they had to borrow from credit a couple times in order to actually survive, and maybe now they're doing a little bit better. Maybe they're able to spend less of their money each paycheck. Maybe they've gotten a bigger paycheck or a different job or a promotion or something like that, and now all of a sudden they're actually able to start spending some money on paying this debt off. That's fantastic. These are the type of stories that make me happy, dude. Yeah, I just wanted to read something that made me happy, because I swear I read like 10 of these stories a day sometimes, and I'm like, man, I don't know how people survive in this country if you're gonna be that dumb with money. But anyway, this person just seems like a humble guy trying to survive and finally getting things turned around. I'm pumped. Congratulations, I just paid off $800 with my tax refund paycheck. The immediate stress relief felt amazing. We're on our way. I'm getting a decent return this year for the first time in so long, but I'm going to put half of it into my emergency fund and the other half into my housing fund while I look for something more permanent. It's just so much easier to lay in bed at night when you don't have to stress over every single dollar you spend. Indeed. I was waking up in the night to do my budget. Can't live like that anymore. Sandman says, "Good for you. I keep my debts written in my whiteboard in my office, so when I pay down, pay off, So when I pay down or pay off those debts, I get to change and erase them and receive a sweet little dopamine hit for doing so. It's awesome." Comfortable Elk 850. "I've done that for years. I keep a notebook every month. I list what I owe, what I paid on it, and what I need to pay. I list recurring bills first, like rent, electric, phone, then credit debt by order of wanting to pay them off, and last, the odd bill like a parking fine or car repair. It's a good feeling to look back on where I was and where I am now and what I have accomplished." That says, "Woohoo! I've got 8 accounts to pay off. Don't ask. The 9th was paid last month. Number 8 will be done this month, and my goal is to have number number 7 and number 6 done by the end of the year. Keep going. Hell yeah, man. So, yeah. I just wanted to read something a little happier there. Let me just do a double check through this forum one more time, see if there's anything that I want to read today. Alright, I will read one more short story just so that I can try to make sure that my video is long enough. Anyway, this one was posted 4 days ago by Apollo1366. Student loans are tanking my credit score while I am still in college. Basically just the title. My student loans are dropping my credit score by hundreds of points. I don't understand why. I am still in school and the loans are deferred until after graduation. Is there anything I can do? Oof, that's not good. So, kind of seems like we're missing some sort of information here. My guess, and I might be wrong here, would be that there's either some sort of minimum payment or there have been payments in the past that you didn't make on time. Because just having a student loan or a car loan or a house loan, aka a mortgage, that alone doesn't actually negatively affect your credit score. So long as you're making your payments on time, it actually raises your credit score. So there's gotta be some sort of factor going on here, like you've got a payment sitting somewhere that you forgot about. I mean, I would contact your financial loan officer and see if there's something going on that they know about. You would kind of hope that they would keep you posted with situations like this, but in all reality, there's a lot of students and there's not a whole ton of financial advisors, so I wouldn't be surprised if somebody just didn't notice. Like I said, if I were you, I would get in contact with your school's finance department, see what's going on. Whoever you got the loan from, your student loan from, I would also contact them and see if you owe anything now. I know you said that your loans are deferred until after graduation, but is there any way maybe that's not 100% true? Maybe you had to pay a little bit up front, or you had some small payments that were kind of recurring charges. You know, I don't really know. I'm not by any means no expert in student loans, but to me it sounds like you're missing something here because, like I said, you know, if you're just paying loans on time, your credit score is not going to go down. So you got to be doing something wrong here, my friend. Let me read some of these comments. All right, this guy says, I'm not a financial professional in any way, but I've spent a lot of time playing with and understanding my credit score. Have you checked different credit sites that let you manipulate your credit factors to verify more accurately what's causing the dip and what you could do to improve it? For instance, if you ever have missed payments on the student loans, even if they're deferred now, that would be a major reason your score would be affected. Yes. It may also be your overall debt to credit ratio. I'm not as familiar with how installment loans affect your score, but I know it's typically less than revolving credit usage. On a credit website that lets you manipulate data, I check out things like what it would do to your score if you opened another line of credit with low utilization, or if you paid off X amount of your loan, or made X months of on-time payments, or got an increase in available credit for your current accounts. It sounds crazy, but I increased my overall score by 30 points once just by increasing my available credit. Yeah, I've actually done the exact same thing. I opened a new card and it raised the limits on 2 others. My debt didn't actually change, but my debt to credit ratio improved. It took a temporary small dip from the hard inquiry credit score, but quickly rebounded. Yeah, that's the exact same thing that I did. I also have 2 credit cards. One of them I think has a $6,000 credit line. The other one's got like a $10,000 credit line. So I've got about $16,000 worth of credit line per month that I could spend, but I'm really only putting like $400 on them. So very low revolving utilization, and because of that, my credit score keeps going up. So same type of thing that you would recommend for this guy if he doesn't actually have any credit built, but that's not really the question. The question is what's going on? Why is my credit score getting destroyed? And like this guy said, you're probably missing payments somewhere. So get in contact with your school, get in contact with your loan officer, figure out where those payments are going wrong, and yeah, you should be able to address that situation as soon as you figure out what the problem is. Cool. All right. So that's pretty much all I got today. I think I did 4 or 5 stories. I don't know how long this video is going to end up being. Maybe 32, 33 minutes, something like that. I hope this was informative, enjoyable, fun, whatever. I think I have like 85 subscribers or something at the time of recording this video. So yeah, I mean, if you thought this was enjoyable or entertaining or whatever, consider giving me a subscribe if you'd like to see stuff like this in the future. Anyway, in all seriousness, I do really appreciate you clicking on this. I have a lot of fun making these videos, these longer form videos that I've been doing lately, as opposed to that short form crap that I used to make. Way more enjoyable. They seem to be pretty well received. I hope they continue to be well received. And yeah, in the meantime, thank you for watching the video. Hope you have a good day. Goodbye.